Hey guys, it's Cassandra Williams from Educational Innovation 360. Today I'm talking about the principal trap, right? Why I kind of feel like so many leaders are struggling to be successful. So really thinking about when you first stepped in to become a leader and the principal's off, I can even remember my experiences. You know you're prepared. You've taken the classes, you've done all the things, you have the credentials, the experience, and the energy, right, and the motivation to what it takes to really support teachers. But I think within a few weeks, I realized it's not about kind of all that background experience and expertise. It's kind of about what are you going to do to transform your systems, transform your school, right? And too often do I see new principals that kind of struggle in this area to support, get the support they need, and even don't understand even where to start, right? So hopefully today we can kind of explore why this happens and what some of the data shows and what we do to help districts and leaders, get exactly what they need to really support their school in moving forward. The question you may ask is, what is our reality for leadership, right? So we hand principals the keys to the building and say, hey, you got this, but we really don't give them the tools necessary or the mentorship or the systematic support and what they need to navigate the school to be successful, right? Some of the data shows, of course, with the 40% turnover, many leave within their first 3 years and 60% experience burnout within their first year alone. So just look at that. So I want to say these really represent how we have talented leaders, right? They don't just happenstance get there, right? They are promoted. They know they're exceptional, and the people around them know they're exceptional enough to be in that position. But even before they ever kind of are able to make real change and real transitions to schools, and, that kind of hurts the school, because when this happened, everything from teacher retention to student achievement to school culture kind of goes out the window. So this system that we currently have is never designed to support leadership. And we believe at the EI 360, it is time for a change. So really thinking about the ultimate goal is, how do we support principals before burnout, before they realize that, maybe I should do something different. I call it this 5 critical challenges and I call it the trap. But, thinking about across the country, we have new leaders that are stepping into this role full of passion. They have purpose. But I kind of call it the principal trap, which kind of means that, these are these 5 reoccurring challenges that leaders face, and these cycles of true frustration and fatigue. One, the inability to make meaningful decisions that are timely, thinking about professional isolation, what does it mean to be lonely in this role, because you are lonely, and then being overwhelmed. There's so many pieces that need to be supported in leadership, and then looking at your staff and how sometimes they need the support, they need the cheerleading, they need ongoing training and professional development, but many of them may be resistant to change. And then last but not least is thinking about the expectations from every direction. So we feel once we're in that leadership role that everybody is watching me, right? I have to make sustainable change. And so not all of these systems alone cause stress, but together it's like the perfect storm that kind of push leaders out to leave. So really thinking about what do we need to do to unpack this to make sure that you as a leader don't fall into the same trap. So part 1 is thinking of what is the decision dilemma. So again, being unclear about authority kind of paralyzes, the action that we need to take. So we know men principals will start off eager, right? But then they quickly discover some of the red tape, the boundaries around decision making, right? And so, they ask, can I make this change? Do I need district approval? What if I make the wrong call? Without understanding the clear frameworks, even kind of small decisions feel like, oh, okay, this is another thing. And so when they're uncertain, there's hesitation, frustration, that self-doubt sets in, and so having a teammate or a team member or somebody to support you on this journey, we help build decision-making confidence, clarifying here's the zone, here are some things that your district is, policy around this, and then be able to help you establish these priorities, aligning the decisions with your values as well as the data. So really think about what do we need to do to clarify some of the decisions that you are making and help you in those critical moments when you need it the most. So that brings us to 2, leadership loneliness. Have you ever worked in a situation where you are alone and by yourself and venting to yourself, right? So I think isolation is like 2 of the biggest principles are like thinking about, professional isolation and then the demand. So I say the burnout, right? So this transition from like AP to principal can feel like kind of you're stepping into a different role, a different space. Suddenly you're expected to be the expert on everything for curriculum, crisis management, hiring, and family engagement and compliance, all those things kind of at once. And let me just say, many principals do not have a mentor or a peer network or a safe space to problem solve some of these strategies. So really thinking about these 2 components and making sure you have mentorship in the space, or some type of peer network that is safe, that you can rely on when moving through this period of loneliness to make decisions. And then we have kind of challenge 4 and 5. That's that human component of people, right? The stakeholders. We're talking about not only maybe the families, but we're also talking about your wonderful teaching staff and all of the people that come with it, right? The human side is the hardest, right? Building those relationships. Many principals inherit their teams, right? Who are like, okay, who is this? So many may be skeptical of change. A lot of the new principals who come in, some face burnout, thinking of, okay, it takes a while to build morale. And so from many times of instability, whether they received you as a principal after the last 2, right? And they think about, okay, so what do we need to do? And so you as a principal need to build credibility, and it takes a lot of empathy, right? And a lot of consistency. And over time, that's when you will get exactly what you need. But you need to be, of course, supported by the districts. And a lot of times the incentives that you have kind of lose momentum really fast if you don't have a great team supporting you. So there is pressure from every direction. The district is like, okay, what are you doing? We want results. We want results. The teachers, they want, okay, give me autonomy, but also give me support that I need. And then you got your families and your parents who definitely want answers, and they want transparency and visibility. And then we have the students which we all are here to support. And many times our students need stability and knowing that you care, right? So every decision that you make to appease one group may frustrate the other. And so thinking about the systematic alignment that needs to be happen and your clear communication is crucial at this point. So when you're talking about the staff or the community, you definitely need to have empathy, and you have to have clear, transparent direction in this phase. Now let's shift to kind of the pathway. What is the pathway of principal success? I always say from problems to possibilities. So there is good news. There are these challenges, but they can be addressed, right? If you have the right structures in place. So with the best researchers and practice, we kind of have these 5 key strategies that will help transform principals. So our goal is to make sure that you develop decision making and confidence through introduction, leadership frameworks, and then you build a network of mentorship from our leaders, and it kind of helps with that isolation. And then we start to prioritize and manage the demands, the teachers, and professional development, and we make sure that your teachers get the support they need. And then our goal is to work with you and lead your staff to grow with empathy and to kind of rebuild that trust. Even though you haven't broke down the trust, you still are a new leader, so they have to build the trust with you. And then the ultimate goal is to stay grounded, right? Never lose sight of our why. Why are we here? Because of the students, and continue to build on that. These strategies are kind of the heartbeat of Educational Innovation 360, with our principal success, scope, and sequence. So we are designed to help launch with leaders to build confidence, clarity, and community. So here are the 5 essential strategies that I want to show you to support new principals. Really thinking about decades of research. When principals are preparing, they definitely need mentorship. They be clear in our roles. Schools improve across the board. We know 25% improvement in student outcomes, 35% staff retention, and 50% reduction in principal turnover, right? And these numbers continue to reflect the broader leadership. It reflects strong leadership, healthier schools. And the question is, can we not afford to invest in our principals, right? So leadership drives school improvement, and it's very important that we help develop leaders with confidence, networks, manage the demands that they need, lead staff, and then continue to stay grounded in our purpose. ask yourself, how many principals have left within your district in the last couple of years? And then think like where we're coming from. The system must change, right? We want to build our leadership and continue to have leaderships with ongoing relationships, right? We believe that first key of leadership should build principals and not kind of break them down to where they probably don't want to come back next year, right? It's kind of time to move away from this term that we use year after year, the sink or swim mentality, right? And move towards a model of, intentional support to meet the needs of every individual, right? In every challenge, we've discovered that we have a solution, but it's rooted in, of course, mentorship, community, and clarity. So new principals deserve, which I say all the time, more than the title, they kind of deserve this supporting launch pad for, an ongoing success. So when you think about the evidence, it is clear when we support our principals, there's ongoing professional development and support, role clarity, and we have strong outcomes for our team. All right, to talk about, creating these strong principles and transforming our communities, we have to think about leaders of today and how they will define our role of tomorrow. And I always talk about AI and how we are truly preparing our staff, our students, and our community for the world that we have not yet seen. And so when we build the systematic approach, it's not just to support the leaders, it's support everybody in the ecosystem. And we want everybody to be a part of this conversation. And we want to build together with the very people that we serve. So making sure that you are a part of this transformation and you're a part of surviving, thriving transformation of a school culture. I hope this helps, gives you a little insight on how we support leaders. I'll talk to you later. Bye.